Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today I have a very special guest, former Coloradan. Roggen Frick is a seasoned construction professional with a lifetime experience in the field, starting at just 3 years old, even earlier than me. He earned his degree in construction management from Colorado State University, Go Rammies, and he has worked in various roles from foreman to project engineer before founding Bare Iron Works, a company that manufactures products for the civil construction sector. He integrates ERP software to streamline production and remotely manage his business. He also offers project management services to Ryno Construction in Colorado beyond his professional work. He is also a self-taught expert in web development, graphic design, video editing, and small engine repair. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, 100%. I'm curious to pick your brain. You sound a lot like me. In terms of all the things you're trying to do. I love the enthusiasm. I love the background. But before we get into what you do now, tell us how you got here. Are you from a family of entrepreneurs? Are you the first? Where does that spirit come from?
Yeah, so my dad, he's always been kind of an entrepreneur my whole life. He's been on and off doing his own construction business and working for big contractors such as Kiewit. And so I've been by his side the whole time, watching him start and run businesses. And he kind of actually came up with the idea for our business that we're doing now, and I took it and ran with it. And now we're co-owners, and we have a pretty good thing going.
Yeah, very cool. Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I wish my son would be like more like you. I'm just he's an artist, and he got kind of some he's got a very creative guy, but in terms of just trying to maybe take on what I'm doing, not interested. Totally cool though. Let's talk about what you do with soil. I think that's one of the most fascinating things that you do. Maybe help us understand like what exactly you do with soil. Why would somebody want to screen soil? What's the best soil that maybe is useful for building?
So yeah, I mean, you got all kinds of different soils, right? You've got clay, you've got silts, you've got rocks, you've got boulders. It's all in that category of soils. And so when you're doing any type of construction, you need to have a solid foundation, but that foundation needs to set on solid soils. And so there actually is a class of engineering called soils engineering. And that's what civil engineers do a lot of the time. And part of that is making the right mixture of soils, right? So you have a little bit of sand, a little bit of gravel, and the goal is to try to make this kind of like engineered soil that can hold a lot of weight and will perform well under heavy loads. And so that's all kinds of construction, road construction, building construction, everything needs to sit on a good soil. The worst soil to work with is clay. Anybody that's worked with clay, especially wet clay, knows how horrible it is because it just absorbs and it's kind of like a sponge. It just expands, and then when it dries out, it shrinks. And that expansion and that shrinking causes a lot of issues on buildings, roadways, bridges, anything. And you can see that a lot in Colorado because Colorado has quite a bit of clay. Colorado also has a lot of rocks, right? And so when you have on-site soil, if you have good sands in it and good size gravel, you can sort that and size it out, and you can save yourself money by not trucking in soil. And so that's what we provide as a solution for that, a simple rock screen that you can screen your on-site soil with. That way you don't have to purchase it from a gravel pit, especially if you have that available. But our screens can be used for all kinds of different things. Anytime you need to separate soil out or size something, we provide the tool for that without breaking the bank.
And are you guys would you describe yourself as like bleeding edge with what you do in soil screening, cutting edge? Are you guys or maybe you're just a competitor to folks that are doing this?
So I would say our product is it's kind of like a value solution, right? We've seen the need for good screening solutions in the construction industry, and so American made that way pass through multiple projects. I mean, because you're going to be dumping, some people are dumping boulders on these things, and they need to last. And the idea for it's been around a long time, called it just a grizzly rock screen. Um, and we feel like we've just really tried to take lean management principles, cut away all the waste, and really just make a good solid product for the industry.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, did you? So this is maybe we could maybe learn a little bit more about the history of
Mhm.
soil screening. And so,
Mhm.
remember, like there's folks here that I have no, I'm one of them, right? I have no
Mhm.
idea. So if I was to be just a malleable piece of clay mentally for
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
how could you help me understand the history of it and how you guys fold into that as it relates to your competitors?
So yeah, I mean, I think like the history of soil screening, right? Like it's something that, we've known for a long time. It goes back all the way to the Romans when they discovered concrete, because it kind of starts out as the soil. Cement's kind of a powder, right? You mix water in it, and all of a sudden it becomes a hard rock.
Hmm.
And that's how we can use it for the basis of construction. And we've constructed things throughout time. You've seen different civilizations, they use clay, like Casa Grande National Ruins is like they made this big house out of clay, and it's just kind of like this silty clay stacked up and it hardens. Bricks are made out of soil. It's soils are kind of like the foundation of construction. Um, and so as we progress and we get better at construction and construction science, that's where we really start to understand, okay, there's structural properties of the soil. And we see how, like, I mean, you go look at an old building that's 100 some years old, you're going to start seeing cracks in it, throughout the building, on the walls and the foundations maybe. And a lot of that has to just do with the soil that's underneath it and how that building is settling and going back into the earth, right? Because the earth's always moving. And we've gotten better at that as humanity over time. And now we're to the point that, we engineer our soils for what we're doing. And you can see that a lot in Colorado. I always think it's a great example, because when they're building subdivisions, they will over excavate about 20 feet down and then bring in an engineered soil and fill that back in. That way the houses have a very good solid, soil footing to sit on. And, my products they're not a big screening plant like you'd see at a gravel pit. It's not a big industrial operation. It's made for the guys that need to have some type of solution on site, because you might be excavating and you just run into bad rocks, bad soil, and you got to fix it without trying to break the bank.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and for folks that are listening to this show who are outside of the very, very poor soils that we have on the Front Range of Colorado, and that's it's away from the mountains. So a lot of people,
Mhm.
my dad was shocked to understand. He's like, well, what about all the granite out there? And I go, like, it's not like that on the plains. It's really
Mhm.
poor. Even I'm a gardener as well, and even
Mhm.
for gardening, it's pretty terrible until you amend it for like a decade, and then it finally gets pretty good. I mean, it's a good
Right.
substrate for stuff. So, so for that audience who doesn't understand the issues we have out here, one of the things I would tell them is right now is that a lot of times we'll have to do this over-X that you spoke about, and then we're bringing
Mhm.
in fill. Uh, the sort of baseline standard is two different ways that we see in the soils reports we get, which is you can either reuse what's there and recompact it up to a
Mhm.
certain ASTM standard density test, or you can actually bring in like a class one or a class two fill, which would go
Mhm.
under road base is basically what it is.
Right.
What's but you're offering like a third solution. Am I hitting it right here?
So, well, I'm offering the product to actually be able to make that type of soil on site. So, I mean, usually, okay, let's say you need some class one road base, right? You'd have to call up a gravel pit and you'd say, hey, I need so many trucks. Uh, Start sending them my way to my site. You're going to be paying, current market rates probably $130 or more an hour for trucking, plus whatever the cost of your soil is. And as you're bringing all that in, that's starting to rack up, especially if you've got a long distance between you and that nearby gravel pit, if it is nearby, if you're lucky enough. Um, so the solution that we offer is, okay, let's take, there's spots in Colorado, especially like along the river,
Mm-hmm.
like next to a river, right, where you've got a lot of river rock in there, you got a lot of sand, you got a lot of different stuff that can be classified down into class one road base. You just have to see a specification is on soil is just the makeup of it, of what it needs to be, this percentage of sand, it needs to be this percentage of gravel of this size, and it can't have any boulders of 3 inches or bigger. So we make the screen, we can screen down all the way to a 1/4 inch with our screens that we make, and they're interchangeable screens. And so you can take our screen, get some interchangeable screens, and you can make the specification that's in your book. So then, you know, a $5,000 rock screen, if you have quite a bit of soil that you need and you have salvageable soil on site, like you would have on the side of a river with a lot of river rocks and things like that, you'd be able to just make your soil there instead of paying all that money per hour to truck it in and then spread it out and do all the work there.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well,
Mhm.
maybe we could tie this into maybe you could paint for us without naming names and just,
Mhm.
some of the maybe the most unique way in which your screens have been used for a local site like that or a
Mhm.
project. I would love to hear more.
Yeah, so one of the first few that I made, because when I started this business, I was making it myself. I was doing all the welding, everything, and I deliver them to the site. And out in Dot Cerro, there's a subdivision that was developed out there. Um, all of those houses, all the soil sitting underneath them was screened with one of my screens. So, like I said, they've got a lot of river rock. So they screened off all that river rock, and then, river rock you could sell to landscapers and stuff like that if it was a certain size. But they made that entire subdivision. I think they probably made about 50 homes in there. And they just use on-site soil. They save a lot of money on trucking.
Yeah, I love
Mhm.
that. Um, Tell us about Bear and Iron Works a little bit more. I mean, how
Mhm.
could people work with you so that they can make money in that way?
Yeah, so we've got a couple different ways. I mean, and our products all kind of tie in together. So the rock screens are our main product, but we also make bedding boxes, which is used in a trenching operation. We also made the first bedding box for a mini excavator. That also has a skid steer attachment plate, so you can actually use it for landscaping too. So you can keep your landscape materials in there, moving around. And we also make a concrete washout tub. And I mean, I think that if you really wanted to use my products to make money, the biggest way to do it is you could take concrete washout tubs, start a concrete washout service, collect all that concrete waste, bring that back, uh, brush it down, screen it off, and then you can resell that recycled concrete back to contractors because it can be considered sometimes similar to a road-based type material and can be accepted on jobs like that. Um, but you can also do a screening service. A lot of time we'll get people asking for rentals. Can we rent the screen? Because we only need it for a couple weeks. We don't want to own one. Or I know in New York State, they used to have a company that would go around and they would screen everybody's soil for them. If you needed stuff screened, this company would just show up and do it for you, and then they'd leave. And that was big up there for a while. And I don't exactly know what happened to them. It sounds like that they may have went out of business or stopped doing that as much because now we've been sending more that way. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to make money with screen and dirt. Dirt has quite a bit of value in it, especially when you're in an area where the soil's not so good, but there is good soil nearby to be used.
Yeah, I love that. Where do you see Baron Ironworks going ultimately? Do you have a 5, 10 year sort of strategy, or are you just trying to keep things going at this point?
Yeah, so we're trying to expand our business and expand the products that we make for the civil construction industry. We're looking at maybe getting into some attachments, possibly for skid steers and for mini excavators. We've even come up with a new type of attachment for a mini excavator, where it attaches to the blade on the front of the mini excavator, and it's kind of like a big bucket. And what it allows you to do is, like, let's say you're doing like a fencing job, you can put your posts on that bucket and kind of carry them around with you and use your excavator to stage them out or do your work. You can fill it up with soil. Maybe you're doing some landscaping and you need to have some rocks with you. You can keep the rocks in there and kind of take that around and um, really just trying to be a little bit creative with our solutions is and offering a good value to our customers is what our goal is, and just keep expanding our product line.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
speaking of those customers, so I think you said you're now located in South Carolina before we started the show. And but where does your company serve? Is all 50 states? How does that mobilization work?
Yeah, so we serve all 50 states. We're all the products are manufactured in Grand Junction, Colorado,
Cool.
still. So I'm out here representing the East Coast. My dad still represents the West. Um, and yeah, we'll ship them straight to your door. It doesn't really matter where you're at. We've shipped them all the way to Guam, all the islands down in the Caribbean, because there's a need for these everywhere.
Yeah, 100%,
Mhm.
100%. I got two questions that I ask every guest as we come up on the end of that interview. And the first one is, knowing what you know now, and if you could go back in time to when you first started your company, what is one piece of advice you'd give your former self?
Um, really understand the services or like the little benefits that you're offering. When I first started, I was doing the deliveries myself, and I was
Mhm.
doing like free deliveries within 200 miles. Um, and that really was hurting me because I would have people drive and meet me at that 200-mile mark. So I was always driving at that 200-mile threshold to do
Mhm.
free delivery, and I wasn't making the products when I'm doing deliveries, and I'm paying to go deliver it. So really just have a good understanding of what you're offering would be the advice I would give.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean, it sort of speaks to vertically. I feel like your transition made you were like, oh, I probably need to get a little bit more vertically integrated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And as the company grew, like I started out being the guy doing the production and doing everything, accounting, deliveries. And now we've built an operational team that's truly a manufacturing company. And I've been able to focus on being able to be a resource for my customers and being able to answer questions and focus on actually like growing the business itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Um, Thanks for being such a great guest in the show. If people want to follow you, get in touch about your company and your services, where can
Mhm.
they do that?
They can go to beariron.com. You can check out all the products that we offer. If you call the number on there, you can get a hold of one of my team members and you can ask for me and I can you can get transferred over if you want to talk.
Groovy. Sounds great. Thanks again for being a guest on the show.
Yeah, thank you.